surgery, there's this deep well within us that only Jesus Christ can fill. If we're trying to resolve how we feel about ourselves from something outside, then we need to look to put Jesus Christ in our heart, in our soul, and in our mind. And that's where the real freedom and real happiness comes from. It doesn't come from a surgeon cutting on your body. It doesn't come from hormones, and it doesn't come from identifying as somebody else. It comes from the power and grace of Jesus Christ to redeem and restore your life so you can honor and glorify him in every single thing you do. And changing your gender does not honor and glorify the man who made you.
So, man, I want to ask you so much, but I'm not going to keep you forever. Okay, so how would you classify those of us who are parents who have children who seem to struggle with this and how they should react to it? Because in the media, in society nowadays, it's celebrated. It's, you're championed if you are championing the idea of your daughter, being or living as a male and vice versa. We even have celebrities, who are somewhat like the poster child of it right now, but what do you think is the proper way to address a young child who might be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that, who is struggling with this? Like, what is the conversation like? What do you think is the proper approach dealing with that?
Yeah, well, at some point this got introduced to them. Was it on television? Was it in a book at school? Was it because of conversations around them? Was it an adult that suggested or began to talk about this? Because keep in mind, 20 years ago, no kids were talking about this. Mm-hmm. This has only come because we have a lot of TV shows. We have schools giving the kids books. We're indoctrinating kids into thinking they can change gender. So a parent needs to do what is proper, and that is to tell them the truth. No, Johnny, you can't become Judy. It's not possible. I understand you may have those feelings, but I think what we need to understand is that a child's curiosity about a different gender is not a sign that they need to change their gender. Curiosity is a natural thing for a young child. And so I think we just need to keep reinforcing and affirming them as how God made them at conception, and let them know that it can't change, and that the people who are suggesting that people change, it's okay to say, no, that doesn't happen. You can't become somebody else. We need to start telling the truth. And we don't need to fold up our tent and go this way that's, politically correct because people are going to reward us because we're lying. It's a lie to tell a kid they can change their gender. They can't do it. And if you take some of the Hollywood stars, Alexis Arquette is probably a good example of that. And I wrote about Alexis Arquette, who at 13 changed from a boy to a girl, and at 39 said, the whole thing, I've been living this transgender. Alexis Arquette was in movies and all these different things over the years, was a celebrated LGBT poster child, came out and said, no one can change genders. It is all, in her words, BS, and no one should even attempt to do this. It was total scorn for the idea. So I think what parents need to know is that if they stay with the truth, that later on in life, the kids will know that you told them the truth. If you tell them a lie, that they can change genders, the kids will learn that you lied to them and that you betrayed their trust as a parent by telling them they could change genders, when in fact it was just a social ideology that's a fad today. I know a lot of parents think that they're hip, slick, and cool because they have a transgender kid that they can talk about and how wonderful they are. Well, when the kid comes out of this later on and says, why did you lie to me? That parent's not going to come out and say, I did the right thing. They'll know that they did the wrong thing. We need to tell the kids the truth.
So I have two daughters. You just saw one. One is still a baby. I have another daughter who's 12. I know might not look like it, but I have a daughter who's 12, going to be 13 this year. Is it fair or unfair for a parent to use a comparison? Like, for instance, I wouldn't want, if my 12-year-old daughter said, Daddy, I absolutely want a tattoo of Tinkerbell. Like, I love Tinkerbell and I want a tattoo of it. And as a parent, I would say, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And I would go through a number of reasons. One of them being, you might not like Tinkerbell in 8 years. You might grow out of that. And maybe when you're grown and you decide to get that tattoo later. I know adults who have that tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
But is that a fair, or I know it's not quite the exact same thing, but is that a fair or unfair comparison as far as someone being young who is having a desire or having and wanting to act on a certain intent, but it may not be something that they ultimately end up, wanting to live with forever?
Right. Well, what you're saying is that if somebody's going to buy into having a tattoo or buy into the fact that they're a different gender, they have to buy into the fact that they will never, ever change their mind and think it's a mistake. And what we know is that from studies that a vast majority of people after 13 to 15 years regret having tattoos.
Right.
They wish they had.
Myself included.
Yeah. And so this is kind of, so what we know is that people end up wishing they hadn't done things when they were young and wishing that we had an adult in the room to tell us the truth, not to do this. And so we need to be the adults in the room telling them this is not a good idea, that, wait until you're 25 and see if you still want that tattoo. And likely Tinkerbell isn't going to be a good idea at 25. So, there's a lot of comparisons with tattoos, quite frankly, and I'm glad you brought that up. I've seen them at Johns Hopkins Hospital when I met with a psychiatric doctor there. He showed the correlation between tattoos and regret and sex change and regret. There is a span of time where people end up having similar regrets. I wished I hadn't done it. It was foolish. And now I need to, go back in if I can and take that, but it's a lot more expensive to take it off. But so I think it's a fair comparison.